Because, it's been a few months, but I guess talk about the debut experience, right? I mean, Madison Square Garden, big knockout, big result. I mean, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was awesome. I was so happy the fight was over because I had so much anxiety going into the fight. But I also was meditating a lot, praying a lot. Felt like I saw the fight 1,000 times in my head, and I was excited to get the win for sure.
When you talk about the anxiety, like obviously that's normal for any fight, right? Was 100%. It just that normal? Because I know there's so much attention on you even as an amateur. Was it that, or was you just talking about just the normal kind of nerves that come with a fight?
It was the normal nerves going into a fight, but everything else too. I'm an amateur with the PFL. I'm fighting in Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden on a PFL card, the World Championship card. So yeah, it was a lot of weight for sure, but again, like through God and meditation and praying, like you can do anything.
That's awesome. I'm not sure anybody was more excited than Flavor Flav that you got that victory.
Yeah.
Were you able to see or hear his reaction outside?
I couldn't hear him until after the fight, and then I saw him jumping up and down for sure.
He's proud of you.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's talk about the opportunity here now, right? Fighting in Las Vegas. Is it change? I mean, this is fight capital of the world, but it's also home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it that same pressure, less pressure, more fun? What is it like?
I think it's the same. There's always going to be that pressure. It's just dealing with the pressure that matters most. Yeah, I'm super excited to be able to fight in my hometown and around my friends and family, and they get to actually like physically go to the fight and stuff. So I'm super excited for this one.
Nice. Not many amateurs have media days, get a lav mic on, follow around. Is there any
Yep.
part of you that's ever like, dude, I wish these people would just leave me alone and just let me just kind of try to grow into this?
There's like 2% that says that, but I just know it's gonna happen. So it's just dealing with it, really.
Nice. Talk about the matchup you have here. Obviously, at the amateur level, sometimes there's not a lot of tape. There's not a lot. Do you know anything about Isaiah, or have you been able to find anything about him?
I know he wrestled in high school. He's 1-1 right now. He trains out of Flagstaff. That's all I really know. I didn't really watch any of his last 2 fights, but I think we have enough to study what he likes to do and whatnot. So, yeah, super excited. I'm just glad he was able to say yes to the fight. And the last couple of weeks have been kind of anxious because we couldn't really find somebody. But Isaiah stood up and said, I'll take the fight, so I respect that.
That's awesome. You made a big statement last time. This would be another one. I mean, are you talking about turning pro yet? Are you guys having those discussions, or do you kind of wait till after each fight? Like, what's the discussion like?
Not talking about turning pro until I'm ready to turn pro. Right now, I just want to get as many fights as I can until I feel and my coach feels that I'm ready to turn pro.
I was going to say, who do you trust to make that decision, yourself or your coaches?
My coaches,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah. My head coach, Dennis Davis, he's been in the game for a long time, and he knows what he's talking about. So whenever he thinks that I'm ready to make that next step, then I'm going to listen to him.
I dig it. Last thing for me, what's the goal here? I mean, obviously going there, a quick knockout would be nice again, but maybe some experience, getting pushed, getting tested a little bit, not the worst either, right? So kind of what is the hope for this fight?
A fight's a fight, so anything can happen in a fight. I'm prepared for anything, for it to go the distance, for me to get tested, challenged, like you said, or for it to be quick. Anything can happen in a fight. You just got to keep your mind open.
I know you said you haven't talked about when you want to turn pro, but have you thought at all about what that will be like when you do? Not so much a time frame, but what you see for your pro career. Do you envision going right into the tournament? Do you envision just kind of doing 1 or 2 fights? Have you thought about that at all?
Not really, actually. I do know that, fighting as an amateur on the PFL and being able to fight on a stage like now is preparing me for pro. I think once I turn pro, I'm going to be a little bit used to the stage and the lights and whatnot, because that plays a big part in a fight too. If a fighter is going from kind of here to here, it's kind of new to them, the lights and everything. But to be able to do it as an amateur is definitely preparing me for pro. As far as going into the tournament, I'm not sure. When the time happens, anything can happen when the time comes. So.
Are you worried that when that time to turn pro comes, that it may not be a choice? It may be because you can't find any more amateur fights, that you may be like, all right, if I want to fight, I have to be pro. Is that something you've thought about at all?
Definitely, yeah. That could happen. But, if an amateur fighter is going to take the fight, I think for both of us, it's a great experience to be able to fight on a big stage like that on live TV. I don't know why an amateur wouldn't take the fight, because it's just great experience. So take advantage of that. It's a one in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm super grateful that I have this opportunity. So.
Who are some of your main training partners?
I train with a lot of really good guys. Mads Brunel is one of my main training partners. Blake Monty, he's an amateur too. He's up and coming. Dude's a beast, so I work with him a lot. Jeremy Kennedy I work with. Got around with Kai Kamaka. There's just a lot of good guys in this gym that I work with, and I take advantage of getting a couple rounds with them. That way I can get a really good look,
You have some random but unique tattoos.
Yeah.
Do they mean something, or are they just kind of random?
Some of them mean something. Some are random, kind of like the shark. I like hammerhead shark, so I kind of got that. That was random. But most of them mean something, like obviously the butterfly and the bee represents my grandfather and what he used to say. But Versace, I actually did a photo shoot with them a couple of years ago in Milan, so I was super excited for that, and I got a tattoo right after. But I'm planning on getting more too, so some will definitely be random.
Awesome, thanks, man.
Over here, outside of the octagon, you are a very mild-mannered guy. My kids happen to go to Vandenberg Elementary
Oh, okay.
School.
That's
I've
awesome.
talked to a couple. They've had some of your same teachers, and
Yeah.
they've had some of Nico's same teachers. None of them saw this coming.
Wow.
When in your kind of training did you realize that fighting is actually going to be what you were going to be spending your time on, and this is going to be your career?
Yeah. At the time when I started training, I was kind of lost. I had finished playing football, and I didn't really know what to do. I felt like almost like I had no purpose. So I was interning at a sports facility here as an assistant strength and conditioning coach, and a lot of the athletes that I was working with were guys that trained here at Xtreme Couture, like Pooney, Jeremy Kennedy, and Kai Kamaka. Like, these were guys that I used to work with as an assistant strength and conditioning coach. And I just remember, and at the same time, I was training here as well. So I just remember thinking to myself, I'm 22 years old. Why am I coaching? Like, why can't I be the athlete again? I miss being the athlete. I miss putting in the work. And I only have one life, so I don't want to be 35 years old and think, oh, well, what if I took MMA serious? Would I have been a good fighter? I don't want to have these kind of questions when I'm older. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to just go for it and just put in all the work and just only live, breathe, and sleep MMA. So.
Sheba, you talked about letting your coaches guide you on your professional path. Your family's got a lot of experience in the fighting industry.
Mm-hmm.
What part of this do they play in the decision-making process with you, especially Nico? He's very early in his professional career.
My dad basically manages me and my brother right now, so usually we'll talk with my dad and my mom about certain things, whether it's like a sponsorship or what's next and whatnot. But as far as like MMA and fights and stuff like that, I usually go to my head coach Dennis and talk to him about stuff like that, and then we'll sit down, we'll make a couple choices and whatnot. But I still go to my brother sometimes for some advice, for striking, especially because he's a boxer, and he gives me great advice, and definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more. Sorry. Recently, you were given an award for helping or rescuing a woman that was in distress. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what happened there.
Oh yeah. So I work part-time security at one of the nightclubs out here, and there was a guy that was trying to walk out this girl who was too intoxicated. She couldn't walk, she couldn't talk, she was completely out of it, and it just looked kind of sketchy to me. So I stopped them, and her friend was actually looking for her, and she ended up finding her when I stopped the two. And I asked her friend, I said, do you guys know this guy? She's like, no, I don't know him. So then I pulled him aside and asked him, do you know her? And he was like, yeah, I know her like a sister. And then I looked at him like, you're lying to me, and then he started running his mouth, and I said, you know what, stay here. And basically we kicked the guy out for trespassing, but who knows what could have happened. And I actually, the day that I received that certificate was when I found out that he actually had her phone. So it was a very sketchy situation, and I'm glad I put a stop to it because I don't know what could have happened, you know. So.
Can I just ask a follow-up to that? Because you mentioned that it looked sketchy. What specific, because I think a lot of people kind of see things that look out of place, or maybe they look too normal to them. What did you see that maybe somebody else should actually keep an eye out for in that situation? We live in a town of nightclubs.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
For sure. Yeah, so, you know, working security there, I'm obviously sober, and everybody else is intoxicated. So I see a lot of stuff that some people won't see when they're intoxicated. But, yeah, I was looking at this table. The girls had a table, and the guy that was walking her out wasn't at her table. So I had known that, like, he's an outside force talking to someone who had a table, and he's trying to leave with her. So it just didn't look right. It didn't feel right with me, so I just stopped the situation.
With Nico, obviously he's a little further along in his career than you are, and I know you guys support each other, but are you guys competitive as far as, you know, he wants to be better at his sport than you at yours, or are you guys just...
As far as MMA and boxing, like, we let each other just stay in our own lane, really. We help each other out, too. We watch fights together. I ask him certain questions about boxing and striking and stuff, and he gives me great answers and great responses. The only thing we are really competitive is Mortal Kombat. When we play Mortal Kombat, we get really competitive.
So I'm sure you probably won't stand up with him, but have you convinced him to roll around a little bit?
What's that?
Have you convinced him to do some non-boxing activities?
Not yet, but I plan on it soon. Now that you say it, yeah.
And then Mom, she's been around, obviously, combat sports for a long, long time, but is it different when she's watching her son in MMA? I mean, it's a different kind of dynamic of what they're looking for.
Fight's a fight, yeah. My mom's going to always be super nervous. She would rather me and my brother play golf or tennis or something like that. But, yeah, any fight, she's going to be super nervous. She's going to be biting her nails and whatnot, so for sure. Even when I played football, she was like, oh, God, please don't get hit, so.
And then last thing, with a name like that, you know, it has, you know, a lot of advantages, gives you a lot of opportunities, but it also, do you think it carries some undue pressure put on you, you know, to live up to that name, or at least do the best you can? I mean, it's almost impossible to live up to that name, of course.
100%. Yeah, I had that when I was 14 years old playing football, and that was a whole different sport. You know, Max Preps, they do coverage on, like, high school sports. It came out who I was related to, and I have no idea how, like, to this day. And since then, it was always, oh, Muhammad Ali's grandson, this, and that with football. And now I'm in a combat sport. It's probably a little bit elevated, but in terms of the pressure and dealing with the pressure, I've known it since I was 14. So.
Is that partly why you went to MMA, maybe, so you can kind of carve your own lane instead of being compared to somebody?
I went into MMA because I fell in love with the sport, you know, and every fighter wants to make a name for themselves, so I'm just like any other fighter, you know. Everyone wants to create their own name, their own legacy. I'm doing the exact same thing. The only difference is I have a famous grandfather, and I'm going to get some more notoriety because of it, but what really matters is what happens in the cage and how you can perform, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.